What's going on YouTube, and welcome back to another episode here at WILDMAN Lifts. I'm your host, WILDMAN. Now on today's episode, I'm going to be doing the log clean and press, and I'm going to be putting equipment on for the first time. Usually I do this without a belt, so now I'm going to see how it is with the equipment on. I'm also going to be doing some half Turk get-ups with that kettlebell, and me running back and forth across the bullpen in giant strength format. And I really wish that this weather would cooperate. I really wanted a bright sunny day, and for some reason, I just can never seem to get there. So we're going to be dealing with these conditions. Also, like an hour ago, it rained really hard for 10 minutes, which happened like the last time I worked out in my backyard. But I can't control the weather, and I can't control a lot of things, which is going to be the topic of this video today. So let's pop into today's workout. Let's get started, and let's learn something new. Now, for some strange reason, which I actually know the answer, so it's not a strange reason, because I'm going to explain in a minute, but I can lift more weight without a belt on the log clean and press than I can with a belt. This is the same thing with any ground to overhead press. If it's a stone to shoulder and then to overhead, or a circus dumbbell, or an axle or barbell continental clean and overhead press, anything that involves ground to overhead, I typically can do better without a belt. And realistically, there's just two reasons for that. The first one is I'm able to move a lot more athletically and a lot more explosively without a belt. See, the point of a belt is to replace your core. So when you breathe and brace and press into that belt, you're supposed to be locked in. This is very helpful when you're doing bench press or back squat or a deadlift. But I find when I'm doing explosive movements or strongman movements, I do a lot better without a belt. And the other reason is when I do wear a belt, and I'm doing a ground to overhead, I usually get that pinch on my skin between the belt. And so as a result, I have to put like a small towel or something to space the belt away from my skin. And then I end up cheating the movement and resting the implement on the belt. Now, although that's impressive, people are like, oh, cool, you can lift a lot more weight without a belt. I think that carries over into functional strength when it comes to everyday life. And you got a point there. However, for longevity purposes, because I am a little bit older, and because I do a lot of repetitive motions with a lot of heavy weight, it's just safer to wear belts and other equipment just to make sure that something doesn't go pop and you get injured. In a few days, I'm actually going to be taking a grappling class, and that's the reason why I wanted to wear a belt this time around, because if I was to be doing this log clean and press without a belt, my central nervous system would be taxed, and then I won't be able to perform like I want to perform and to pressure test my abilities in this grappling class. So it's just safer all around to just wear your equipment for longevity purposes, because weightlifting is not a race, it's a marathon. And I know that's a giant cliche, but the reason why things are usually cliches is because they're truth. And that's the truth right there. So although I don't really want to wear equipment on this particular lift, I'm actually going to practice with it, and I'm going to do a lot lighter weight as my top sets just to try to make sure that I'm able to move correctly and I can actually practice with it and get in better positions with the equipment on. And people who consistently lift without training equipment like a weightlifting belt, they're ignorant, because they're going to end up injuring themselves one day or something worse. And if they do know about it and they continue to train without a belt anyways, then they're just dumb, because it's just better to take care of your body and last it as long as you can into your older years. So then when you're like 70 or 80 years old and you're jacked and you're able to outlift all the younger guys in the gym, that's where it comes down to being worth it. And I've seen this before, and that's the goal. Now, although my focus was the log and practicing with the equipment on, I really wanted to get to the variation giant set because that's what I wanted to lift the most. So I decided not to go up in weight and just to practice more with the equipment on and that weightlifting belt. And I did another rep with 225 pounds, which actually went a lot smoother than the first time. So I was very pleased with that. All right, so not too shabby. 225 for 2 reps with equipment on. Definitely felt a lot different. What I kind of found and I was struggling with was on the clean, when I was getting it to my shoulders, typically I like to get it into a kind of a quarter squat and then use that momentum with the clean to launch it overhead. And I'm finding that difficult to do with the equipment on. With the equipment, it got up there and I didn't quite get that spring going. So I ended up more or less strict pressing it, but still it went very smooth, and I do feel a lot more stable with the belt on, which is kind of the whole purpose of wearing equipment to begin with. So now we're gonna jump into the actual work that I wanted to do today, which is gonna be with the dumbbells. So let's pop into that variation giant set and finish this workout strong. Now for the variation giant set, I was doing 4 rounds and I was doing the seated dumbbell press. If you want to know how my shoulders got to be so strong, I really credit this exercise for doing that, because I did the brunt of the work with the log already. And now essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to isolate those shoulders and really build them up. But with those dumbbells, they move all over the place. They're not stable like a barbell. So I have to work extra hard and have to work the stabilizers in my shoulders in order to make sure that I'm able to lock it out. And that really carries over a lot into the log clean and press, because typically the log clean and press is easy to do, at least to clean it to my shoulders and get into the front rack position. But you really can't cheat the movement. And since you can't really use that much leg drive, because you'll lose real estate if you try to use leg drive, sometimes you have to strict press it instead of getting that leg drive press. So that's why it's good to work your shoulders in this manner. So this is my top set. This is the one that I wanted to do today, and that's going to be the 95 pounders. And really the hardest part about this is getting it to my shoulders. But I've actually worked a lot on that technique to getting it to my shoulders. So now it's not really a factor anymore. So now I'm going to try to do at least a 6 rep max, and that was my goal with these dumbbells. But I was actually feeling really good, probably because I took it a little bit easier on the log, and that belt I was wearing kind of gave my central nervous system a break. So I was able to do 8 repetitions this time, which is the most I've ever done with dumbbells. And in between, which I wasn't doing before, I was keeping it in the same giant set format. I was doing those Turkish half get-ups because I really wanted to work my obliques, which is what that does. But it also works your shoulder mobility. So I really like doing these when I'm doing my shoulder days, just to kind of target those areas. And I also continue to run as well in the same format. And for the assistance giant set, I was doing 3 rounds. So since the log was already out here, kind of just seemed like a good idea to keep using it. Typically I do this as my variation giant set, so I decided to work up to a 10 rep max, starting with a 145 pound log and doing the incline log bench press. And I like doing this because this really gets you used to and practicing with the log. It's kind of the same movement, but now you can get your chest involved. So my shoulders were absolutely blasted. So now I'm just going to try to finish off my shoulders, but I'm also utilizing the chest as well and hitting my upper chest. And this is actually a really good chest workout because I feel a lot of chest activation when I do this lift. And it also is able to overload that log. And in between, I was still doing those half Turk get-ups just to kind of end on a nice even number. But then I actually extended my run to 200 meters. Just so at the very end of all that running, I would get to 1 mile total. And then after this, I moved on to the assistance giant set, which is going to be 3 rounds. And again, since the log is out here, why not use it? So I was doing some overhead tricep extensions with that 75 pound log when it's empty. Another way to use the log and practice with it and get those triceps super strong for the log. And then I would throw that log down and I would do some tricep push-ups. Again, to really finish off the triceps, but also to get my chest involved a little bit as well. And then I would do some side delt raises. I really like these a lot because this carries over a lot into a lot of functional fitness stuff, mainly to flick somebody off when they're bothering you. And then I ended with face pulls, of course, all with a band, just to kind of finish off the shoulders since they're already dead from the workout. All right, I couldn't be any happier with the workout and how it went today. I feel great. It went well with the equipment, and I don't feel like how I normally do, where my central nervous system is absolutely zapped. But now, as the workout has just concluded, it just started to drizzle a little bit, and so I'm gonna pack it in and call it a day. Really appreciate everybody stopping by, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.